Everyone, this is the first of what may be a good number of videos about how we can use NLP and timeline therapy, mental emotional release and Huna to get through this current situation that we find ourselves in the world today. As you can probably tell, I'm not at home, so it is from me at the moment. Aloha from Hawaii. I'm walking on the beach, which is really key to the first theme or the first idea, concept, which is an important one for all of the rest of the videos that I'm going to be taking you through. I'm going to be doing a daily video. It's going to go out at 8 p.m. UTC or GMT. Which is obviously the morning time here in Hawaii for as long as I'm here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but that's one of the things that's just happening in the world today. Uncertainty. And, you know, you can have a look at this glorious environment that I'm in at this particular point in time. And, you know, the important thing with that is that what I'm going to be talking to you about is about your mental, emotional, and physical well-being in these times of extreme uncertainty. I'm 57. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I guess, we were talking to my mum, she would liken it to the Second World War. Speaking to my grandmas, they'd probably liken it to the First World War or the Second World War, but I've certainly never experienced anything like this ever. And I'm in this heaven on earth environment, yet people's mental and emotional and physical well-being are still challenged just like you would be anywhere else in the world. I don't know when or how I'm going to get back home. I've got students here whose flights have been cancelled already, and they were intending to be here until next week, but now they're not. I've got students from Canada who are being recalled, told that they've got to go home now before Canada closes its borders, but they can't get flights because all the flights are booked out. So there is a lot of uncertainty and stress no matter where you are. And the real important thing that I want to emphasize here is that your mental and emotional and physical state is not determined by your environment. We can't change the environment at this point in time. It changes day by day, and there's nothing that we personally can do about that. But what I'm going to be talking to you about every day for the foreseeable future is how we can change our own personal, mental and emotional state. I was asked a question last night actually on Facebook when I announced that I was going to do this video series about cause and effect. The idea that what we experience in our life in some way, shape or form is caused by ourselves, and the effects that we experience are caused by ourselves. Now, are we saying, therefore, how did I create the coronavirus? Not really. I mean, if you wanted to take it that far, you could do. It might not be that useful at this point in time. But the thing that let's put it a different way. Let's put it as like you create or cause your experience. So how do you experience what's going on at this particular point in time in our world, in our lives? And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about, is about how do you go about changing your experience. There's two major, I think, challenges that we face here with our experience from a mental, emotional and physical well-being point of view. The first is if we are experiencing fear, if we're experiencing anxiety, if we're experiencing panic, which I know many of us are, then that causes our physical body to release huge amounts of cortisol into our bloodstream. And it's already well proven that cortisol actually massively reduces the effectiveness of the immune system to be able to fight things like the coronavirus. So what I'm going to be talking to you about over the next few days is how we can actually, even with what's ever going on outside of us, how we can actually immunize ourselves and how we can banish stress, anxiety, fear and panic from our own mental, emotional well-being. But the first thing that we've really got to get is that our emotional state, the state of stress, the state of fear, the state of anxiety actually has nothing to do with the environment outside of us. It's something that's created inside of us, and therefore we can change it. The other thing is with what actions are being taken around isolation. The next challenge, once we've dealt with the stress, the anxiety and panic, is the feeling of isolation, the feeling of loneliness. And how can we actually deal with that one? Because that as well causes major problems and for our physical body. You know, there was an experiment in the 1960s. It wouldn't be allowed today, but they did an experiment with newborn babies, and there's somebody photo bombing me at this particular point in time. There's a guy who's already done one of my seminars and realized that he can let go of his stress. And they did an experiment which, as I say, we wouldn't be allowed to do today. They took newborn babies, and with some of those babies had physical contact, they were touched, and other babies had no physical contact, they weren't touched in any way at all. And the very sad thing about the experiment was that the babies that had no physical contact actually died. So isolation is a challenge. Loneliness is a challenge too. So I want to deal with two things. Firstly, how do we get rid of the anxiety, the stress and the panic, and give you specific techniques that you can do very quickly to enable you to get yourself into a nice calm, balanced and centered state. Once we've done with that, I'm going to give you a whole series of techniques from NLP, from timeline therapy, mental emotional release, and from Huna. And also I'm going to introduce you to some of the techniques that James Mallinson and I in our business Fix My Mind use around anxiety, which is some techniques called havening. And then I'm going to talk about this thing around loneliness and the lack of connection and isolation, which is something that's going to be increasing for a lot of people. Obviously, what we've got here is with these videos, I'm going to be connecting with you every day. Please say that you're here, comment, so that people can, be connected with you too. Share the videos with other people so that they can benefit from what I'm going to be talking about as well. And the first thing is, which it's got to be there because none of the other things are going to work, is you have to have the belief that your experience is not created by the environment. Your experience is created by you. Once you've got that fundamental belief, then the tools and techniques that I'm going to be sharing with you over the next, whoever knows how many days, will work, and they will enable you to absolutely, totally change your experience of what day by day, moment by moment, what's happening in the world. It's quite fitting, I think, that as I say, I'm in Hawaii at the moment. I'm doing a biannual Huna training. It's our 60th Huna training. We've got nearly 200 people here from all around the world. And, in Hawaii, there was the kahuna. And if you were a kahuna, you'd never tell anybody you were a kahuna. In fact, you'd actually deny it. So one of the surefire ways of knowing that somebody isn't a kahuna is if they introduce themselves as a kahuna. But how did you know that a person was a kahuna? Well, the only way that you do, I'm just navigating some rocks here, the only way that you'd know that somebody was a kahuna was that when everybody else was losing their head, when everybody else was stressed out, when everybody else was freaking out, whenever anybody else was panicking because of what was going on in the external environment, the kahuna was always calm, balanced, and centered. And that's actually the meaning of kahuna. The last two letters, na, actually means calm, balanced, and centered. So what I'm going to be teaching you is how to become calm, balanced, and centered in an environment where many people, if not everyone except you, excuse me, might be losing their heads, might be freaking out, might be panicking, might be in massive fear, might be anxiety. Use what I'm going to teach you over these coming days, and you'll be able to remain calm, balanced, and centered. You'll be able to remain na. There's no word in Hawaiian for goodbye. When we part or when we separate, the greeting is ahui ho, and ahui ho means until we meet again. And I know when we're going to meet again. We're going to meet again tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. UTC, 2000 hours UTC GMT. So wherever you are in the world, I love you, and ahui ho.